This story takes me back to when I was a teenager. My family lived in the country, far away from town. My grampy owned a lot of land, around 100 acres of dense woods and open fields. My cousins, friends, and I spent most of our time exploring those woods, creating adventures out of every day. One summer, something happened that would forever change the way I saw those woods. It started when my dad, Grampy, and uncles hired a surveyor to mark a trail through the land. We were there to help clear it out, working from sunrise to sunset to cut a path through the thick brush. The whole family was there, all of us sweating under the hot sun. It was on our last day of clearing the trail that we stumbled across something unexpected. Grampy, who had lived on the land for years, had seen it all. And that day, as we rested near the trail, he started telling us a story, one that would send a chill through my spine and stick with me forever. Back when I was a boy, he began, this here was a stagecoach trail. It was used back in the 1920s. Legend has it, a group of robbers had pulled off a big bank job. $5,000, which was a lot back then. They made their getaway, headed up this very trail. But what they didn't know was that they were heading straight into something they shouldn't have. He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. He went on to tell us how these robbers camped near a large boulder somewhere further up the trail. They thought they had a safe hideout. But they were wrong. You see, they had no idea they were camping on sacred land, ancient Native American land. One of the robbers, drunk on whiskey, had wandered off. He tripped over something, and when he stood up, he saw it. A strange rock with markings on it, not in English, something ancient. Grampy told us the other robbers warned him to leave it alone. But this one, drunk and careless, kicked the rock. He mocked the old stories and laughed, but that was the last mistake they ever made. The next morning, the robbers were gone, just vanished. No trace of them. The sheriff and his posse found their camp, but there was nothing except for one boot left behind. Their horses were still tied up, the fire was still burning, their bedrolls left in the dirt, and the money gone. They never found it. No one ever saw the robbers again. Grampy said people stopped using the trail after that. They believed it was cursed, haunted, and the legend of the vanished robbers became part of the local folklore. As a kid, I wasn't sure what to think. The story stuck with me, but I thought it was just that, a story. But then the next summer, my cousins came to visit, and we decided we were old enough to camp out on the land by ourselves. We made our plans. We packed up our gear, had breakfast at home, and set off into the woods, excited for an adventure. But none of us had forgotten the tale Grampy told us the year before. And something about that land always felt different. We reached the spot where we had helped clear the trail the summer before. It was quiet, peaceful. The stream we passed was cool, and the clearing was perfect for setting up camp. We didn't think too much about the boulder we passed or the strange energy in the air. As the night crept in, the conversation turned to Grampy's story. Chad, the oldest cousin, was skeptical. He mocked the legend, laughing about how it was just a tale. We all got caught up in the conversation, some of us laughing, some of us getting more nervous. I was the one who volunteered to go get more water from the stream. Kneeling down by the water, I suddenly heard something. It wasn't loud, but it was enough to make my skin crawl. A voice, low, muttering. It wasn't clear, but it was eerie. Then I saw it. Movement in the trees, a shadow. I didn't think. I just dropped the bucket and ran back to the camp. My heart was pounding. I tried to tell the others what I had seen, but they laughed it off. Chad, being the older one, started mocking me, saying there was nothing out there. He even started joking, calling out to the spirits he thought I was afraid of. That's when it happened. A scream, no, a roar came from the woods. It wasn't human. It wasn't animal. It was something else, something indescribable. Chad stopped in his tracks and the laughter stopped. We froze, listening. Then the sound started. Shadows moving just out of the campfire's light, screams, roars coming from all directions. Suddenly one of our tents ripped apart, but we couldn't see what was doing it. We ran. We ran as fast as we could, the sounds of whatever was chasing us growing louder. We didn't dare look back. We just ran. When we made it to the road, we stopped, gasping for air, checking to make sure everyone was there. But Chad was missing. We heard him before we saw him, screaming as he came running out of the woods, covered in dirt and looking like he had seen a ghost. He didn't say much, just shouted at us to keep running. And we did, without a second thought. We finally made it back to the house, frantic and terrified. My mum was scared out of her mind when we burst in, but she locked the doors and windows, trying to make sense of what we had just experienced. The next day, my dad went with a friend to clean up the camp. They came back empty-handed, disturbed and quiet. When we asked what happened, all Dad said was that we were never to go near those woods again. That summer, Dad put up a gate at the trail entrance and posted no trespassing signs. As I grew older, no one ever spoke of what happened that night, but I could never forget it. I've often wondered what we encountered that night. Whatever it was, it didn't want us there. And whatever happened to Chad, I don't think he'll ever fully explain it. But one thing's for sure. There's something out there deep in those woods that we were never meant to disturb. Leave a comment if you have ever experienced anything like this. Give this video a thumbs up. And be sure to subscribe to Paranormal Terror so you don't miss any of our stories.